Yo, I'm recording this at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. 2:30 a.m. in the morning. So if you saw my most recent tweet, I went full quarantine sleep schedule mode. It's not great. It's pretty bad, in fact. Down bad, as TPP might say. It's even worse because I actually did up going for that run, as I mentioned. I planned to go for 3 miles, but then I couldn't run that long for 3 reasons. 1, it was really foggy outside and I didn't want to get run over by cars or a brown bear. 2, it was really slippery. 3, running stimulates bowel movements, and that was problematic. Anyways, I only ran for like 5 minutes, which was really pathetic, and then I showered and went to bed, but I got caught up watching on my phone the European First Strike, which is a tournament for Valoranta, a video game. So at the end of it all, I fell asleep at about 10 a.m. shortly after the sun rose. I woke up at 4 p.m. just as the sun was setting, meaning I missed all the daylight today. What my mom had to say about that was I'm kind of like a vampire, and I thought that was very funny and very clever and very true, because like a vampire, I will die if someone drives a stake through my heart. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you're experiencing otherwise, but I think a lot of us are going through very strange and forbidden sleep schedules during these quarantine times that are not so sublime. There's the very obvious sleeping very late to 3 or 4 a.m., then waking up at or past noon. If you're going through that too, it's okay, you're not alone. In fact, you're probably in the majority. So many of us have degenerated into this nocturnal lifestyle. Some of us may be adding an extra layer to our degeneracy by falling into this ensnarement known as taking naps. I never used to take naps, and if I ever did, it would only be in the car while my parents were driving, because I couldn't nap if it were me driving, it just doesn't work that way. But also because I find that the motion of the car lulls me to sleep very easily. Recently though, I've begun taking naps at home in my bed in the evenings mostly. If it were only a half-hour nap or less, it'd be fine. It's not fine though, because I go much deeper than that. I'm having 2, 3, even 4-hour naps sometimes, and at that point I wish I'd just keep sleeping through the whole night for something like another 4 hours, but it's not possible after that because I'm in that weird twilight zone of feeling too rested after the nap to continue sleeping, because 4 hours was more than enough sleep since I was only awake for like 7 or 8 hours prior to that nap, and I find that I need at least 12 hours of wakefulness if I want to sleep for a whole 8 hours. Maybe you can tell how invested I have become in learning my own sleeping mechanisms and patterns since these quarantine times that are not so sublime. Anyways, the ways in which naps further destroy the already degenerate sleep schedule are, tragic at best. I think the simplest way to put it is, if your nap is longer than an hour, you're in trouble, because for however long you nap is going to be roughly equivalent to the amount of time that your normal sleeping time is offset by. For instance, if you normally sleep at midnight, but you took a 3-hour nap sometime prior, then the time you're going to end up sleeping is probably going to be around 3 a.m. This is true for me at least. So if I'm waking up at noon and planning to go to bed at 4 a.m., taking a 3-hour nap sometime between that means that I will eventually end up going to sleep for real at 7 a.m. I had the attempted 3-mile run instead of going to sleep like a sane person would, and, well, that's how we ended up here, as mentioned in the video's intro. So yeah, we're kind of in the dumpster right now. I don't know if it's something to immediately be concerned about, because, see here, realize that a nocturnal sleep schedule may not be the worst thing in the world. There's reyna players for one, and junglers. Anyways, I find that I become a much more productive human being at nighttime than during the day. During the day, I just want to nap and click through social media and scroll and do a whole bunch of nothing, basically. Subhuman. Meanwhile, in the dead of night, those hours between midnight and 6 a.m., I find it possible to write my whole moral philosophy final paper in one night. Productivity just goes through the roof for no reason. I do things I could never do during the day. I mean, during the day, I'm struggling to write 100 words in an hour. I get too distracted on social media. At nighttime, I can write 2,000 words in an hour. I can't explain why this is, I just know that this is. Speaking of word production rates, have you ever noticed how it's so easy to write a lot of words if you're writing about what you want to write about? But when you're writing for school, words decide to all get up and disappear, and it is very difficult to find even 1,000 of them to write with. For a point of comparison, this YouTube document of mine has 34,000 words, and this is after deleting tons of old video scripts from long ago. These words were not hard to come by. School did not make me write these words. They flow very easily, and I write very quickly in this setting. I got another document, Damn by Kendrick Lamar, 38,000 words. Color Vision by Max, 25,000 words. I guess the difference is, I wanted to write all these words, I was never under pressure to reach a word limit, whereas when I'm doing these assignments for school, I am fighting tooth and nail for every little scrap and morsel of word that I can get my hands on. I thought that's annoying. Maybe if school made assignments enjoyable, then a word limit would actually feel like a limit, and our words would flow free like water as they do when I'm writing for YouTube, or Damn by Kendrick Lamar, or Color Vision by Max. That's harder than it sounds though. It's hard to make educational assignments that are enjoyable for everyone. Speaking of flowing free like water, plagiarism is a real threat to society nowadays. I experienced this firsthand, but I cannot tell you in what context, only know that it wasn't super serious, and it was not in an academic setting, so my university has no reason to kill me. Anyways, I think the best example of the type of plagiarism I committed comes from another video that is humanized right here on YouTube.
Okay, so your assignment last week was to write an original piece for me. Let's hear it. I've actually been cooking up a little something that I'm pretty proud of. Yeah, that sounds very similar to Imagine. What? Imagine, John Lennon. Does it though? Does it sound similar? Yes, I see. It's very similar. I was really excited about that one too.
You might see what I'm getting at here, and you might be thinking, Happier, you already made this video! And it's very ironic because that video was about having already made other videos before. That's true. In fact, I made 2 videos on the topic. Go watch these right now. Go watch them right now! If you don't want to watch these right now, then you are right to do so. These videos can be summarized very easily with the saying, there is nothing new under the sun. Meaning it's really hard to come up with original content because all original content has already been created by others before you. But I want to add to these ideas because it becomes even more crazy to me that this is a thing in terms of unconscious plagiarism or cryptomnesia. Copying or plagiarizing others' content or creations without realizing you are doing so. Maybe you saw someone's work a long time ago, consciously forgot about it, but subconsciously or unconsciously you remember it. And so this person's work then makes its way into your own work months or years later without your conscious realization. Kind of like the Daniel Thrasher video I mentioned before. I want to make sure we're understanding the very important distinction between this, cryptomnesia, and a different phenomenon which is coming up with the same ideas as someone else when the two of you are working isolated and independent of one another. Like how Newton and Leibniz both discovered calculus at the same time. They didn't copy or plagiarize each other, not even unconsciously. It just so turned out that they each discovered calculus on their own. Thanks to iDogTV for giving me that example. That is not cryptomnesia though, and it's not what we're talking about in this video. The first time I heard of cryptomnesia, I didn't really believe in it. Like I was thinking, how could you copy another person's work, basically word for word, and not have something tick in your brain that's like, gee, this seems too familiar, maybe I didn't come up with this on my own. Well, I found out firsthand that cryptomnesia is real, and here's where my storytelling falls flat because I cannot reveal the details of what it is I copied. We'll have to save that story for another time. But I did have a very textbook case of cryptomnesia where I very egregiously took another person's idea and repurposed it, without even consciously recalling the other person's work at all when I was doing this copying, though I didn't know at the time it was copying. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Really strange at least. Like, it's like deja vu in the sense that it's a weird thing to think about and we don't understand why it happens. Maybe we do, but I don't know. Haha. I hope you guys never have a case of cryptomnesia, especially because it can be dangerous for you in school if you're to unconsciously plagiarize someone else's work and get busted for it, because schools hate that sort of thing.